Hello and welcome back to Anime Plus Recaps. The world of dreams can be an incredible window into the psyche, but what happens if someone else can dive into your dreams no matter how weird as hell they may be? I know what my dreams will be like if you dive into them. Can you guess? You'll dive into absolutely pure despair. Because life is not fair, do you know what else is not fair? Me working from my mom's basement to create these videos and finding this. 98% guys are coming here just to take the good and not leaving me a cookie. Rest of the 2% are our Loyal Plus squad members. We love you homies, and because of you guys I'll one day come out of this basement. Okay, that's too far, just leave the damn subscribe for hell's sake. Coming back to the recap, today we're going to recap one of the masterpieces called Paprika. In the near future, a revolutionary new psychotherapy treatment called dream therapy has been invented. A device called the DC Mini allows the user to view people's dreams, exploring their unconscious thoughts. The movie starts off with Dr. Chiba, who is a psychotherapist responsible for leading research on the DC Mini, a powerful device created to allow psychiatrists to access and manipulate the dreams of their patients. The device was developed by Dr. Takeda, whose idea was to allow psychoanalysts to more effectively help patients heal from trauma, phobias, and obsessions. One of the first patients to be treated with the help of the DC Mini was Detective Kanekawa, who intended to treat his anxiety resulting from a violent case he had been unable to solve. The detective's dreams begin with a circus show. The man walks through the audience looking everything around him. He's looking for someone. Suddenly, a spotlight is pointed towards him. The presenter asks the audience to watch Kanekawa, and in the blink of an eye, the man appears on stage trapped in a cage. As the audience applauded the show, several characters with twin faces, identical to the detective, came out of the crowd and tried to capture him. The floor below Kanekawa breaks down and he falls somewhere else. A woman hanging on a trapeze asks him to hold her hand. Seconds later, the detective is teleported to a scene from the movie Tarzan swinging from a vine and with the same woman in his arms. Kanekawa tries to understand what is happening, but there was no time left for that. He keeps getting sent to scenes from different movies. This time he is being strangled by a mysterious man. The same young woman again appears and hits the aggressor's head with a suitcase. Now they are sent to another place. The detective spots the man who was chasing him in the previous scenes and goes after him until he arrives at the crime scene, the same that Kanekawa was unable to solve. At the end of the hall, the man is running away. The detective tries to run after him, but the floor and walls fall apart around him and he falls into the abyss. When he wakes up, he sees that woman beside him. She explains that everything that happened was a projection from Kanekawa's subconscious, and through the DC Mini, she could interfere with his dreams. She also reveals that when the device is complete, it will be possible to enter other people's dream even when they are awake. The therapist gets up to leave, and the detective asks her when they can see each other again. She hands over a visiting card containing the website where Kanekawa would be able to contact her and finally introduces herself as Paprika. Dr. Chiba arrives in the laboratory where the device was first ever developed. In the elevator, she finds overweight Takeda, who needs the doctor's help to get out of the elevator. While trying to get out of there, the inventor informs Chiba that one of the 3 DC Mini prototypes has been stolen, and since Takeda had not yet programmed the device's access controls, the person who stole it could connect to his psychotherapy machine at any moment and enter the minds connected to that machine. Both meet with the head of the research team and walk to the president's office, who makes it clear that he disapproves of the DC Mini's existence and used claiming that dreams are a sacred haven and should not be invaded. During the conversation, Mr. Shima begins to say things that make absolutely no sense, just like this anime on first time watch. Everyone in the room is confused, observing that situation until he loses control and leaves through the corridors of the research center. The scientist jumps off one of the windows and he ends up falling on a tree located just below. He survives but ends up unconscious. During his hospitalization, the doctors use DC Mini to monitor his dream in which a parade full of bizarre creatures is taking place. According to Dr. Chiba, that was another patient's dream and was projected into Mr. Shima's subconscious by the terrorist who stole the DC Mini. Amidst all those freaks, there was a Japanese doll that caught the attention of the medical staff for reciting strange poetry. The doctors then turned their attention to the doll, which had a weird face. Takeda immediately realizes that this is Himaru, his assistant, who hadn't shown up at the lab in the last few days. Suspicious that Himaru could be the culprit for the theft of the DC Mini, Takeda Chiba and Ozanai head towards his apartment. They ring the doorbell, but no one answers. Using some tools, Tokita manages to open the door. Inside, the doctors are faced with hundreds of macabre dolls and books scattered everywhere. Investigating Himero's room, Dr. Chiba finds a picture of the boy where he is dressed as a geisha very similar to the doll found in Shima's dream. Chiba senses that something is watching her from inside the closet, and goes there to find out what it is. She finds a ladder leading to the basement and has the bright and dumb idea of going down to investigate. She follows the scribbled hallway and arrives at an amusement park. There, the doctor spots the cursed doll on a train and tries to follow it. She finds the geisha sitting at the entrance of the Ferris wheel, but when she goes after it, the woman wakes up from the dream but in real life is about to jump off the balcony of Himero's room. Luckily, she was saved by Dr. Ozanai. After leaving the apartment, the three concluded that Himero was the one who stole the DC Mini. Back in Shima's dream, Paprika appears and struggles to wake him up. Himero is also there. The girl tries to catch him, but the psychopath manages to escape. In the meantime, the scientist wakes up to awaken him from the dream. Paprika fuses with his body and causes him to inflate until he bursts. Finally, the man regains consciousness and informs Chiba that there, within the dream, he felt he could control the entire world. Shima gets a call from Detective Kanekawa, a friend of his since university. He thanks him for the experience he had using the device, and the scientist asks him not to tell anyone about it. Kanekawa tries again to contact Paprika. To do so, he accesses the website described in the card delivered by the psychotherapist. As he does so, he is greeted by two waiters who claim to be waiting for him. Walking through the bar, he finds the girl. They talk about their past. Paprika walks away, and the detective follows her. As he walks through the door, he comes across several movie theaters, each showing a different movie. The doctor invites him to watch one of those movies, but apparently the man has some trauma related to the seventh picture at the Center for Research in Psychiatry. Other researchers are going crazy. They are no longer able to distinguish dreams from reality and are marching all over the lab talking nonsense. Seeing the number of victims of the DC Mini increasing, the president of the foundation decides to stop the development of the device and ban the use of psychotherapy machines in his laboratory. Should have done that way too long ago. Tokita continues with the idea of improving his invention. Dr. Chiba is passing by and notices that the doll drawn on her colleague's shirt is the same one she saw during the dream she had at Himero's house. Together they go to the amusement park, where that same drawing was taken from. Chiba suspects that Tokita's assistant might be hiding there again. At the entrance of the Ferris wheel, the woman spots the geisha doll. She carefully heads towards it, but before she can reach the doll, something happens. Disturbed by the nightmare, he was trapped in Himero free falls. He breaks the glass ceiling and falls in front of Chiba and Tokita. By this time, the DC Mini was already fused in his head. After witnessing this bizarre event, the two scientists came to believe that Himero hadn't stolen the device. He was probably just a victim. To try to help his friend out of that nightmare, Dr. Tokita bonds with the DC Mini and is transported to that insane parade. Inside, he is greeted by hundreds of macabre dolls. At this point, he realizes that dreadful geisha who was behind all the chaos was not Himero. In police officer Kanekawa's dream, the situation is repeated. He is again in a circus show where he ends up trapped in a cage. But this time, when he manages to escape, he ends up in an elevator along with Paprika. The girl takes him to different floors, and on each of them a new movie was happening in which the detective was the protagonist. They end up on the 17th floor, where a special session was taking place. Kanekawa tries again to catch the killer, but the same scenario repeats itself. When he goes back to the moment of the victim's death, the detective realizes that he was the shooter and the victim was himself. Totally bizarre, Paprika appears in the movie theater. Watching all of that, the detective joins her, and the two talk about technical details related to film production and shooting. The girl questions Kanekawa about this mysterious death. She wanted to know why the man killed himself. The detective reveals that he had never thought of taking his own life, and Paprika suggests that the victim could be someone very similar to him. At that moment, the room is invaded by the creatures of the parade. The therapist spots Tokita in the crowd and tries to bring him back to consciousness, but is unsuccessful. The boy goes through the wall and disappears. Paprika looks back and sees that Kanekawa is about to give in to that madness, along with Mr. Shima. Chiba goes to the lab and bonds with the DC Mini to save her friends, but asks her boss that if anything goes wrong he will wake her up immediately. Upon entering the world of dreams, the psychotherapist assumes her alter ego, Paprika. In this way, she finds a crack in the dream and goes in to investigate. The place appeared to be completely abandoned. Inside, she finds thousands of bizarre dolls with Takeda's face and a giant statue of her lab colleague, Dr. Osane. As in the dream world, everything is possible. Paprika transforms into a fairy in order to better investigate the place. She enters through a sewer opening and makes her way until she finds a disgusting spot where tree roots were growing. She flies higher to identify what it is and is upset to realizes that this is Himero's body. The boy was being held captive in his own dream. Suddenly, those roots come to life and start chasing Paprika. The girl tries to escape, and when she flies a little higher, she comes across the face of the president of the foundation carved into the trunk of the tree, which was controlling those roots that were trying to kill her. Paprika tries to run away, but when she sees that she won't be able to escape, she asks Mr. Shima to wake up Dr. Chiba. The woman regains her consciousness and is gripped by despair. She goes with Dr. Shima to talk to Mr. Inui. In the mansion's greenhouse, the president assumes he stole the device to prevent that sacred haven from being destroyed by technology. Although his real motivation for the theft was to tarnish the DC Mini's reputation so that its use would not be sanctioned by the government and thus protect the dream world, the man ended up being corrupted by the power he received from using the device. In that world, Inui could do whatever he wanted, including walking again. He gets up from his wheelchair and gigantic roots have sprouted in place of his legs. Calling himself the Guardian of Dreams, he says his duty is to exterminate Paprika. At that moment, Chiba disappears and gives way to her alter ego. Next to her is Osanai. That means the doctor had been tricked. She still hasn't woken up from that nightmare. In the real world, Dr. Shima tries at all costs to wake up Chiba, but despite all his efforts, the woman remains trapped in the dream world. There she is, being pursued by the mad president. The therapist fuses with a sphinx and tries to escape, but Ozanai hits her with a spear. She falls into the sea and takes the form of a mermaid. Yet Inui manages to capture her, transforming himself into a disturbing creature. Paprika is thrown into that psychedelic parade led by the president and his assistant, Osanai. She takes the form of the character Pinocchio. From a distance, the girl sees another version of her and tries to warn her that this is a trap. Paprika even tries to escape, but ends up being captured. The girl wakes up with butterfly wings and is pinned to a table by giant pins. Another character who also entered that collective dream was Detective Kanekawa. He's back at the dream bar, drinking and talking to the waiters about the movies he's already produced. He tells the story of the first movie he shot together with his high school friend. Kanekawa had given up on the film, abandoning it halfway through so his friend could finish it due to an illness. This friend ended up passing away while lamenting his past. The detective realizes that the guy he was chasing in his dream was his late friend. When looking to the side, he sees that same man who runs away again. Kanekawa goes after him and finds himself once again in a corridor full of movie theaters. One of the movies catches his eye. He enters the room and spots Osanai and Paprika on the screen. The man is declaring his love to Paprika in the most twisted way possible. He puts his hand under the woman's skin, ripping it open and revealing her true identity. He says he's in love with Chiba, just the way she is. When he finally manages to have the woman of his dreams in his arms, President Inui appears and is ready to kill her with his wicked roots. Osanai tries to stop him. While the villains discuss the doctor's fate, Detective Kanekawa manages to enter the movie and save Paprika. Even better, Chiba. He takes the woman and flees that dark place. Dr. Shima manages to detect them through the monitor and he instructs Kanekawa to go back to his dream, and so he relives every movie he's ever been through. First, he embodies the character of Tarzan. Afterwards, they are sent to an action movie, but this time the detective manages to get rid of his attacker, who in this case was Osanai. He chases him to the scene of the crime, and just as the man is about to run away, Kanekawa shoots him in the back. After getting rid of the villain, the movie ends with the detective holding Chiba in his arms, very James Bond-y-like. The woman then wakes up from the dream scared and at the same time relieved to have managed to get out of that dark place alive. While talking to Mr. Shima, a bloody hand appears on the glass outside the room. Chiba gets up, and as she walks towards the door she finds the ghost of Dr. Osanai. He is about to die and falls into the woman's lap. His body disappears in the Inui's mansion. The real Osanai also dies, shot in the back, and begins to be swallowed by a hole that opens in the ground. The president goes after him because his only hope is to merge with that man's body to get rid of the wheelchair. The two sink into the ground along with the entire room, which would be a dream black hole. Chiba and Shima leave the lab in search of reinforcements. When they were crossing from one side of the building to the other, they find that creepy doll, which this time is bigger than the building itself. Sweet dreams are made of this. Kanekawa is in his office and has just woken up from his dream. He closes the website where he was able to connect Paprika, but when he looks out the window he sees all those dark dream creatures parading down the street. The entire city stops to watch that freak show. Gradually, the people are taken by madness and turn into freaks to join the parade. Apparently, the real world is already mixing with the dream world. No escape. Wherever you go, there will be thousands of those monsters. This parade is literally one of the best acid trips you could have for my mean if Lucid Dreams had a theme song. This is the one. Kanekawa paralyzed at the sight of that situation and unable to understand it. He wonders if this is the real world or if he's still dreaming. It is at this moment that the waiters appear and inform the detective that the whole world is dreaming. The researchers continue their flight. The killer doll still hasn't given up chasing them. She destroys the entire floor. They were trying to escape, laughing in an evil way. The entire floor was destroyed before the doctor could get through. Chiba tries to help Shima, but she doesn't have enough strength. When Dr. Shima was about to fall, to his death, Paprika appears and helps save herself and the doctor as well. The two characters, despite being the same person, have such different characteristics and personality traits that they ended up completely disassociating. The three escape and teleport using the TV as a portal. The demon Jisha follows them but ends up being bombed by Tokita, who is in the body of a giant robot. Chiba leaves Paprika and Dr. Shima and heads towards Tokita. She tries to bring him back to consciousness, but fails miserably. Instead, the man captures the woman and devours her. Paprika and Shima arrive at the place that connects the dream to reality. From the top of a building, Kanekawa and the waiters watch that black hole swallowing the entire city. Tokita appears and runs toward Paprika. His intention is to devour her as she did with Dr. Chiba, but the waiters are faster and stop him. Covering his vision, Chiba's ghost appears and helps Tokita, separate from the building. Then the woman hugs him and disappears. Unexpectedly, a huge monster emerges from the black hole. Shima soon recognizes President Inoue. The man has merged with Osanai and is now able to stand and walk on his own. The girl has the idea of merging with Dr. Tokita and Dr. Chiba. The three give birth to a giant baby that feeds on all that darkness. The more she feeds, the more her body grows. The girl approaches that monster, who at the same time tries to exterminate her. What he didn't count on was that the girl would start to feed on his body. The young woman devours every part of him. Yeah, every part. As the monster is swallowed, the girl grows and reveals her shape. After feeding on that dark dream, Chiba disappears and all the victims of the DC Mini wake up from the dream. Fortunately, everyone makes it out of that nightmare alive and the movie ends here. The whole plot was deep about the technology thing and its uses in the most wrong ways, but for me the perfect core message is technology can be one scary acid trip of great and weird animation. What recap you want us to do next? Comment down below and make sure to subscribe.